Hello everyone, welcome back to Pommy and Oz. Hope we're all doing really well. We're back here with another preview. So if you're new around here, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe. Thank you very much for the feedback for the new live show last night. We had so much fun. We can't wait to keep bringing that to you every week. You can get some merch as well. Just sent some more shipments out this week. There's some new stock there on the website, so go and check that out if you want to support the channel. And if you want to become a member, you can do that. Link is in the description. And this week, we're on to a game that I look forward to, personally, because it's a rivalry in the house. Carlton versus St Kilda. St Kilda, obviously, been very fast starters this year. And went down last week to Collingwood in what was probably one of the more ties of the round. Very tough game on paper. A very game that probably, you know, when Carlton fans look at some teams, it's hard to say we've got a winning record against anyone, really, with the last decade being about as insightful as a 7 News documentary. But the big thing this week is the boys obviously are coming off the back of a very poor and a very abject performance out at Gather-Round. And back at Happy Hunting Ground, though, this week. They're back under the roof, back where they feel a bit more comfortable. And it's going to be a really interesting battle, isn't it? Because historically, Carlton do like to respond after a big loss, really. It's fair to say. They do seem to be that type of personnel that like a kick up the arse and hopefully something wedges. But let's look at St Kilda. And one of the things that's really archetypical about Ross is the basics. He irons out the basics. He doesn't mess around. He really gets stuck in to the real core crux of the matter. He doesn't, it's not exciting, but it's just rudimentary basics. And he was really showcasing this Collingwood game. When the game was getting away from them, they started getting the ball to high half forward, getting the ball deeper, trying to cause some chaos, pressure around the ball. Probably the only team this year, I think, where they've actually stood up to Collingwood's real frantic pressure and actually gone toe-to-toe with them. And it was an interesting one because the way that they got beat was the territory battle and the pressure around the ball and being able to sustain that pressure. And that is themselves their own skill set. They like to cause pressure, make it tough. And it was a really interesting battle and one that I really enjoyed. Let's have a look at some players that we're going to pick on this week. And obviously, one of them is this guy here who has been nothing short of sensational. And that is, we've got him here, Silky Wilkie. Callum Wilkie has been absolutely brilliant this year for St Kilda. And if you look at his numbers, you can see why. He's become a real staple of that back line. Winning his contested one-on-ones around 80% of the time. 5 spoils, 9 marks, 85% disposal efficiency. 2 score launches, which is elite for players who play in his position. And his positioning has been supreme. He's taking the biggest guy, the most dangerous guy week on, week out. And what he's doing is not only breaking even, but he's giving them an issue. And that's what we've seen this year. And it's interesting that Brody Myercheck and McStay worked so hard last week. It's because, and they're a little bit smaller. If the ball is being floated onto this guy, which Carlton have a habit of doing, it's game over. And Callum Wilkie is really solid. He's one of them players that I always think when you look at opposition teams, you don't worry about. You kind of go, oh, Cal Wilkie, I know who he is. But then you see him play and you're like, Jesus, he's good. And this is going to be something here that Carlton are going to have to be wary of. If that loopy kick comes in, that floaty nonsense, this guy here can hurt you because the way that Ross has got them moving from the back line is schmick. And that is going to hurt you. That is going to hurt you, especially with the personnel around there. So Cal Wilkie is definitely going to be one that Carlton can negate by proper ball movement. And it's a great game to play when you know that. The next one is the Crouchy Steele combination. Let's take a look at them. Jack Steele, no stranger to Carlton, but we'll check on his brother first in chaos, and that is Brad Crouch. And a real breakout year almost at St Kilda. He was okay last year. Obviously, he had the injuries since he's got there, but you're seeing why this guy is a staple of what Ross is about. 14 contested possessions, elite. 8 ground ball gets, very good. Elite tackle numbers. The disposal efficiency is the question mark. 69% and 20 pressure acts, which is around very good. Just borderline elite. And these guys do the simple things well. They win the ball back. They make it hard. They stifle. That is what Ross's real mandate is. It's making it hard. It's not giving away the easy ball. It's not giving away them easy uncontested. It's trying to make you, I wouldn't say, I think it's a disservice to say drag you down to their level, because that's not what they're doing. But it's making it tough. It's asking the question for longer. This side here are playing a real condensed, controlled game. The number 1 side in the comp for disposals and marks. They play a ball retention game, but when they're defending, they are trying to make it hard. They're one of the least cleared against sides. They are one of the least tackle sides, and they also give up one of the least hit outs in this side. And Crouchy is a big part of why their clearance against is so low. He makes it hard. He gets his hands on it. There is no clean ball. You're looking at great ground ball numbers, big pressure numbers. You're looking at really taking it to the furnace, because it's going to be a scrap. And Crouchy really suits that, because he's never flustered and never panicked. And he's going to have his mate back this week, Jack Steele. And Jack Steele, for me, one of the more underrated footballers. Credit to him. Remarkable that this time, a couple of weeks ago, he broke his collarbone, and he's back in the furnace. And he's no surprise to Carlton. We have played against this gentleman a lot of times, haven't we? He is a guy that seems to get the better of Cripps quite a lot. And let's look at his numbers. You've got the 8 contested, which is AFL average. You've got to remember he missed a part of the game with a broken collarbone. 6 ground balls, 5 tackles, 69% efficiency again. Again, not the most efficient, but they've got the players around them. And 25 pressure acts, which is ranked elite. And again, this guy really suits that mandate and that mantra of how important it is in a Ross system to be strong around the ball, to make it hard to ask the question. He is literally a very, very solid footballer. And people do forget about Jack Steele. And he's a huge in for them. Huge in, because it really helps Brad Crouch. And then they get the ball on the outside to their users, their pace and their quickness. You've seen Mason Wood's massive improvement. They've also got Brad Hill there. They've got players like that who literally like to get the ball. Gresh, Ross. These guys are feeding them players who can hurt you on the offense. The other guy we're going to look at, and it's another return, another Carlton game, another return, and that is none other than Tim Membry. Remember members, and this guy here, we talked about the danger of players last week in Adelaide taking the ball at 60, 65. That kick in between Carlton's midfield and halfback. And we said that if they can exploit that, they're going to win. Well, they exploited it. Members, he does that. That's Tim Membry's literal one wood, really. And to see him back isn't great news for Carlton. How underdone is he? I don't know. I think the way that he plays, it doesn't really matter. If he's passed a fitness test, that means he can play a minimum of 70% of the game. And that's 70% of the game we're going to have a problem. They love that hit-out kick. That little hit-up kick out of 60 sets them off. You saw it in the final quarter against Collingwood. It causes chaos. And these are his numbers last year. Obviously, he hasn't played this year, but 1 contested mark. That's the number there. The 2 marks on the lead per game. 3 shots. The 5 score involvements, just borderline elite in the AFL. 2 goals a game. This is someone that if you don't give attention to, you're in a bit of strife, because that ball is dangerous. If they can get him, especially with how Mason Wood is working in defensive transition, that left-hand side of the ground, Wood taking the defensive mark, getting it up to this guy. Bit of issues. And, you know, they've lost Big Anthony, who's been sensational for them. It's not bad bringing this guy in, because this guy does what he does a little bit better. And it's going to be an interesting one, because that is something to be wary of. Mullet and shut up. We've seen Jack Sinclair a hell of a lot, haven't we, in our AFL journey. He is incredibly good at what he does. Let's be honest. He is a very, very, very strong footballer. In my opinion, probably one of the best halfback flankers in the game. And transition, Carlton, although they've scored on transition, last week showed it can kill us as well. And it still exists, especially when we have a tendency to drop back. Hasn't been beaten this year one-on-one. One tackle a game. People will say, oh, that's it. Look at the players around him. Stocks, players like that. This guy here, they keep him for his 1 wood. 2 score launches a game. That's elite 74% kicking efficiency, which is AFL average. The 5 intercept possessions. If this guy can get off the chain, which he did last time we played us, you know what happens. He's going to be someone that is really taking them Callum Wilkie intercepts, and he's going to intersect and get into the midfield. Loves the corridor kick. Loves to set up transition and take the game on. He's not scared to go by foot. Not scared to run. Not scared to play the little give and goes. He's a real threat. But he's also pretty strong defensively as well. His positioning is very good. His ability to win the ground ball is very strong. How do we negate that? Well, you saw halfback was a real strong facet for Collingwood this week. And it's no surprise they've got Nick Dacos. He's one of the best players in the league. But it is a place where you can hit them. And because they are a very rigid defensive unit. So you've got to take the game on. You can't cozy it. If you cozy it against this side and try and play little tick-a-tacker type style football, you lose this game. You've got to take it on. And Chincotta here, we've got his VFL numbers. Remember, these are manually calculated because they aren't released. So me and a good mate of mine, we do this for fun. He hated me this week, calling him in for this. But one-on-one, 71%, not bad for someone who's playing in that role. 3 tackles a game, 6 score launches, 74% kicking efficiency, 7 intercept possessions. No Sard. Time for Chincotta. And what he's got to do here, we need to see VFL. Chincotta. It's going to be like when we had Cottrell, and Cottrell started to find his VFL form. He hasn't got the benefit of 8 games, right? He's got the benefit of Marvel Stadium. Yeah, mid-age now in the AFL. Even though it's your first year, you're a mid-age by age. Go out there and play. And I think Chincotta will do. I don't think he'll be fazed by this. And this is going to be a guy who's going to get a lot of the ball. Him and Newman are going to have a real tough job this week. And I'm backing this guy in to do something because he is very direct. He is very dynamic. He likes to take the game on. It is his 1 wood. He's more attacking. He defends via attacking. And it's going to be a really exciting concoction. I'm really excited to see it. And Carlton have to be bold here. They have to play him. You can't do what we did last week. Play Plowman as an intercept defender. You have to play your 1 woods. And this is it, right? Chincotta comes in. Chincotta plays off half-back, and he goes for it. And I'm looking forward to it, protected by his mate, Lockie Cowman. Now, we talked about pressure beats them. You're going to have to be up for it. And these are the 2 pressure valves in the Carlton midfield who, for whatever reason or not, haven't quite done it. Or have they? Well, by the eye, obviously, Matt Kennedy, obviously, he suffered from that injury. But still AFL average. Still AFL average. He's a victim of his own high standards. 8 contested possessions. Ground ball gets 5. Tackles 3. Very good pressure acts, though. Very good disposal efficiency. He's got to be hot around the ball. He has got to be looking at steal and crouch. And the way Carlton win this is how quickly they can get that pressure and how quickly that they can free up Cripper. Now, they don't want Cripper in this dogfight. The best way here is for Cripper getting that feed handball out with that like horseshoe manoeuvre they did last year and trying to get that to Walsh and Chera out wide and get the spread going. But these guys here need to be strong at the furnace, make it hard, don't give clean ball, and that's all you've got to do. You've got to do that for longer than St Kilda can do, and St Kilda will do it for 70 minutes minimum. His mate, Georgie Hewitt, disposal efficiency being pretty good, but I've got to say that's because his average possession is decreasing. Whether that's the hand or whatnot, we don't know. 20 pressure acts though, tackles, ground ball gets and contested possessions, all in the very good. This guy here is going to be in that furnace and he's got to be winning the ball. He's got to be really at his ruckman's feet. They're under the cosh. We haven't talked about Rowan Marshall, but Rowan Marshall is very, very good at what he does. Their ruck strategy is very, very good. But their ruck strategy is they tap it to the feet. That's their tendency. They like to tap it to the feet straight down. That is advantage there for Carlton. If they get their big bodies around the ball, they've got to fight for it. They're very attuned, St Kilda, at losing taps and winning taps and still getting the same result, which is really interesting when you see it, because they have a high percentage when they lose the tap as well of winning. And that is going to be a key for this game here, because we saw what Collingwood did. Collingwood were really strong. Their tackle count was insane, but their pressure rating was in them high 1.8s all game. Getting that ball forward, getting it into them problem areas, making it stick, and that is really important. Tom Mitchell was really strong this game. 12 contested, 28 touches. That's what Carlton have got to try and replicate. They've got to try and replicate that strong intensity around the ball. So a lot will be required of these two gentlemen. Walshy Chesney Express. So we talked about winning the ball, doing something with it. Now, Collingwood were very incredibly good at getting the ball inside 50, getting the ball forward, giving your defence a break, because it's a nightmare. St Kilda don't let up. And this guy here, 18% of Carlton's score involvements when he's played come from this guy. That's ridiculous when he's played one game. 11 ground ball gets, 7 tackles, 83% kicking efficiency, 22 pressure acts. You see why he's important. Now, this is why it's important that he replicates what he did last week. That's his best role. And then if you can slide him half forward, which we should be able to do with a little bit of manipulation, and rest him there, that is really good. You don't want him completely in the guts. You also want him being that guy who gets the ball from Hewitt and Cripps and Hewitt, Cripps and Kennedy. You want him on that receiver end. You want him there waiting for the ball, being there, getting it and being able to dance around, because he can make things happen. His ability to ping and keep Carlton going in transition is important as well. He's got endeavour, he takes off, he doesn't slow down, he's a quick decision maker. Very important, because if you allow St Kilda time to set up behind the ball, you're screwed. You saw it a few times when they slowed Collingwood down, which was their mandate. Really strong behind the ball. It was when Collingwood could get going, and that's when they were looking at Nick Dacos, Josh Dacos, to get the ball going forward. Quick handball chains. It's not for so much foot speed that kills you with Collingwood. It's their ability to hit the ball quickly and move it quickly. And it's very, very quick. If you go and watch them, and this is something Carlton have to learn ASAP, Rocky. And Sam Walsh is one of them guys that can do that. The other guy here, Chesney, you expect he'll play a little bit of halfback to give Sincotta a rest, and probably Cowan. They like to rotate Cowan quite a bit. This is going to be really important here with Chesney. Chesney's going to have to. And look at his numbers. 22% of Carlton scores this year have been with this guy involved in it some way. 11 ground ball gets, 7 tackles. These are new facets of Chesney that we haven't seen before. His toughness. He's rugged. He's willing to get in and fight. It's going to be a really good rotation, because I want to see a lot more Hewitt with Walsh and Chera. These two working together on the ball at times, and then trying to keep them fresh and getting them spread. There's going to be opportunities that these two are going to have to go in there. You're going to have to try and say, okay, the pressure's a bit too much. We're going to have to play our way out of here. We need our better ball users on here. And Chesney's going to be one of them. And then we finish with the mock tricks. This is going to be a really interesting one. You saw Bobby Hill last week, and they are susceptible to that smaller player that comes up at high half forward. And that's Motlop's mandate. That's his mantra. It's how he plays the game. And this is going to be a really interesting one. 2 shots on goal, which is AFL average. I'd love to see him get targeted more. That's more than midfield and how they target. 5 score involvements a game, 2 tackles inside 50, 20 pressure acts. The pressure Carlton are one of the best teams at getting the opposition to lose their ball in Carlton's front 50. They are super strong at that. It's a big turnover score for Carlton. And 1 goal a game. That is where they play it. And he is there. And this is going to be a great battle. I would love to see him and Sinclair have a little matchup for a quarter. 2 X-Factor talents going head to head. Because if you can get Jack Sinclair defending more, that wins the game. Bit like Carlton did with Sardi. And they played against some of the dangerous smalls. Nick Newman did it wonderfully against Toby Green, started to impact on the transition, which made Toby Green sit back a little bit and gave him a chance. This is really integral for Carlton and this week, and it's something that I am really looking forward to. Over to the team selection then. What has Pom done? And here it is. I have gone, I wouldn't say too dangerous, but Mitch McGovern comes back into the side. Need that transition. We haven't talked about him, but he is a quick user and sets the tone. Carlton have to be a bit quicker. Wheater in, Cowan, Chincotta, Young and Newman. I really like that back six. I think it's strong. The centre line is set and forget for me. Akers, Hollands and Cripps. Half forward, I'm starting Walshy there. 2 reasons. 1, I want this guy floating through there because our entries inside 15 need to be lower, need to be stronger. Zach Fisher comes out for me this week, and we need someone to offer us something there. So Motlop, Walshy, Kennedy, Cripps even will all through here to try and give Carlton something different. Harry Mackay, J-Sauce, he needs to be the hit-up mark. He needs to get last 2 weeks out of his game and really go back to basics. Durden, Kerno and Motlop, Pitternet, Kennedy and Hewitt. And then on the interchange, Dow comes in. People might hate it. I want to see an extra rotation, though, in that midfield. He's playing 5th, 6th midfielder. I want to see something different. And I've taken Walsh out. I've taken Fisher out. I've got someone there. It allows more rotation and a more high forward. Plus, his stoppage goals are something I think Carlton are missing. Chera, Mr. Ed Kerno stays on the side. Basically, the dynamicness. I don't like him across high half forward, but Voss seems to be sold on it. I'd rather have him putting some pressure on than at the moment Zach Fisher. I feel a statement needs to be made. TDK keeps his spot. Pitternet's going to need some help. But this is going to be a real defined role. And he's another guy that I'm looking at floating through that high half forward. We saw the success Brody Majacek had this week. That is going to be important for putting another body there and putting someone to worry about. And my sub is Jackson Binns. So that is my team selection. Let me know what you've gone there. I've gone with a little bit of pace. We're the only team, I think, who don't use the sub the right way. Let me know in the comments what you think. I think this is going to be a really tough game, but it is winnable. And Carlton have got to exercise the things they're poor at. It's going to be a great game. I can't wait to do it live on the weekend with you on Blue Abroad. Look after yourself. Stay safe. Pom out.
I grew up in a place where they told you what to chase, told you how to run the race. Every move was on the page, but I didn't like their way. Had to fight and misbehave, had to find a way to change, had to leave to find my way. Caught up in a daydream, I be in my mind.